Welcome back to the channel, Modeling Maestro here. We are continuing work on the Hobbyboss A-6A in 1/48 scale. In my last video, I showed a few instances in this kit that needed fixing to produce a true A6A and not an A6E. Another change that needs to occur is moving the chaff flare dispenser position. These square holes will need to be filled and the Doppler radar will need to be reshaped and extended. To fill in the square holes, I had to scrape away from the plastic along the center railing. This allowed me to place a sheet of plastic in the full rectangular hole, while still providing a little bit of support from the railing. Next, I used CA glue and pieces of plastic to build up the rear of the Doppler radar. Once the glue was dry, I used a fairly coarse sanding stick to grind down the material and continue the tapered teardrop shape. This vent will also need to be filled to represent a true A6A. The intakes of this kit have a slight gap that I filled with CA and sanded down. I'm an Amazon associate. That means if you use the Amazon links in my video descriptions to purchase kits, tools, or equipment featured on the channel, I will earn a small commission at no extra cost to you. It's a simple way to support this channel while picking up the items that you already need. For this build, I have been in correspondence with a fellow modeler who is building the same kit. He shared with me this photo of an A6A that ostensibly shows the chaff dispensers. Other research has stated that the A6A dispenser was a small chute found on the port side of the aircraft. Given these two conflicting bits of info, I decided to trust the photo and place the chaff dispensers forward the Doppler radar. I started to draw out the squares that would represent the new position of the chaff flare dispensers. Holes were then drilled and plastic was carved away with a number 11 blade. I continued to carve carefully, checking and dry fitting the dispensers in the holes. Here is the final result. A flaw of this model, whether representing an A6A or E, is the shape of the seam found behind the wings near the exhaust. This seam is angular in the kit, but should actually be a rounded line. This was filled with CA and sanded down. The seam will be created later. Now the wings have been placed in position. Thin CA and Tamiya Extra Thin is used to create a strong bond all along the wing joints. Filler was needed along the fuselage and wing joints. I sprayed Tamiya primer to these areas to ensure the filler was sanded well and that the area was free of flaws. The same was done to the lower portion of the fuselage. I decided to only apply primer to the section I was currently working on. Applying primer to areas where gluing will still need to occur is a generally bad idea, especially if I have to use Tamiya Extra Thin. Tamiya Extra Thin will not work well with Tamiya primer. As you saw in the previous video, I continued to drill out the plastic of each air scoop. This is a fairly easy way to add realism to any model aircraft. The panel lines for the slime lights found at the tip of the wings will need to be filled for a true A6A. I again used CA glue applied with a toothpick. A single air scoop is placed in position atop the fuselage. The underside of the slat on the starboard wing was too shallow in relation to the rest of the wing. I decided to fill the step with a piece of styrene. An oversized piece was glued with CA, then much of the excess was trimmed with Tamiya clippers. Then the piece was sanded flush, filled with CA glue again, and sanded again. Here is the final result. The actuators for the flaps at the wing tips are placed in position with guiding holes. However, these holes are wider than the pieces themselves, resulting in visible gaps along the edge. I decided to fill the holes with styrene rod. They were then filled with CA glue and sanded down. I then clipped off the attachment pegs on the actuators and glued them into position with Tamiya Extra Thin. The aircraft I plan to depict is an A-6A and VA-65, the Tigers, deployed aboard the USS Kitty Hawk. Operating from Yankee Station in the Gulf of Tonkin, they flew strike missions against some of the most heavily defended targets in North Vietnam. And they did it in some of the worst flying conditions imaginable. Unlike high-altitude bombers, A-6 crews often went in low, sometimes below radar coverage, exposing themselves to anti-aircraft artillery and surface-to-air missiles. The Intruder fundamentally changed naval aviation strike doctrine. It proved that true all-weather precision attack from a carrier deck was possible, and influenced future aircraft design across naval aviation. As for VA-65 aboard the USS Kitty Hawk, the Intruder was more than a machine. It was the aircraft that carried them into some of the toughest missions of the war and brought many of them home. Here is the model so far. Much of the construction of the fuselage is now complete. The wings have also been completed with the flaps and slats in place. Well, that does it for now. In the next video, painting will commence and I might even be ready to apply the decals. Thank you so much for watching. If you found this content useful, please leave a like, leave a comment, and subscribe, and we'll see you in the next one. Bye.